So I'm going to start with a quote. And well, the first thing I'm going to say is, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you all. So my quote is Lydia Kan, who is out of his coma, not quite out of the woods. But I love this quote. If we are not fully ourselves in the present moment, we miss everything. And so with that quote, I'm going to put this down now. The one thing I'm going to start with for my difficult conversation is first a question and then a request. So my question is, well, it's two questions. Is anyone expecting a baby? But your wife is in her 8th month, not 9th, so I think we're okay. And you? Okay. That's awesome. And the other question is, does anyone have anyone in their family or their circles who's really, really, really ill right now? I'm sorry. And if you can we can just take a deep breath and just send some warmth that way. I just wanted to acknowledge that. So there's the two questions. It's about hope and expectation, and then it's also about dread and expectation. And there's something to be said for, if you can, literally just for a few minutes while I'm speaking, just put your phones away and your texting away and all of that. And not for me, but for yourself. Just see if there's something that you can settle into right now. And so what I'd like to do is ask you all to stand up, look around the room, and find 2 people you do not know, and then I will give you a question to share. So off you go. Who would like, Evelyn, can we do the mic? Who would like to share? Anyone have someone they want to talk about just for a minute?
Rick. Oh, sorry. Amanda and then Rick. My grandma Pearl, I was mentioning. She's 91 and lives in the Bronx still, and is one of the strongest people I know, who is extremely candid. She tells my boyfriend every time that she loves him, but if he ever treats me badly, she'll hit him with a bat. Who is the next?
Well, any of you like Amanda and Marianne that know me are not going to be surprised when I mention a hero of mine that I actually have met in person now a few times. His name is Tony Mulatto. He's the founder of the largest NGO that's home based in the Philippines. His organization called Goa Kalinga has created 2,000 communities over the last 8 years, impacted over 1 million people, created all sorts of sustainable villages. And his avowed goal is to create 500,000 social entrepreneurs by 2016. He's already created tens of thousands of them. And what's neat about him, and I actually met him in person, I've met him a few times in person, but the first time was a few years ago when he had a fundraiser here. And as I was telling my new friends, what's really exciting is he's kind of emblematic of somebody I've met virtually that I reached out to and said, I really love your message. I love what you're doing. You're 7,000 miles away, but your message resonates with me. I had no idea when I reached out to him and his organization or similar organizations that I would be personally connected with that individual or would be able to get involved in that movement. And what I've found increasingly over the last few years, and that's what I love about Catalyst Creative and the kind of speakers that come here, is that when I reach out to somebody who I think is reaching for the stars, and I say, I love your message, I just want to resonate a little bit more, be a little bit of a megaphone for what you're doing, increasingly, if they think I'm sincere, they reach back to me. And I think that's the neatest thing about Tony's message. I mean, he deals with heads of state, he goes to Davos, he turned down all sorts of, high-level positions, but he's very humble and very impactful. And there are a lot of people like that out there, and reaching out to them has changed my life.
Thank you. Thank you both for sharing. I think we've turned a corner as a society, and I'm talking about a global society, where the idea that we're for each other and we're for good. And what I love about working with millennials is that that's how you all grew up. My generation, I'm a baby boomer. It's a little bit, there's been a few of us in that demographic, and we're like, whoa, we've got all this support coming up, this support with voices and this support with, a deep, deep care for the future of the planet. So I'm going to go back to kind of this core idea of difficult conversations and mindfulness. And mindfulness is no longer fringe. We really have turned that corner. Mindfulness and meditation are mainstream. And the Jon Kabat-Zinn, the awareness that arises from paying attention in a particular way, on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally, not good, not bad, just here. A breath, I'm here. Another breath, I'm here. And it's just everything that is right now. And what Jon Kabat-Zinn and Daniel Goldman around emotional intelligence, so qualities of emotional intelligence, which are now more or less the barometer for what we call good business. So it's self-awareness, mindfulness, self-regulation, being in choice about what you do or say, right? It's motivation, being able to motivate yourself, being able to share a message, and like those fish that I have, to be that fish that sort of, those fish are just going to follow you. It's empathy. Empathy matters so much. It's being able to listen and feel, but it's being able to listen without words. And that's really what mindfulness builds if you have a meditation practice. And by meditation practice, I don't mean on a pillow with a candle in front of the Buddha on the floor. I mean literally in your chair, taking a minute. Just in your chair, taking a minute. If you can do more than a minute, if you can do a minute a few times a day, fine. But it's not a big deal, but it's everything at the same time. And so the other piece of emotional intelligence is social skill. And it's about that ability to connect with others. And one of the things mindfulness has been found to do over and over is to build the ability to have compassion and the ability to, instead of jumping into judgment or anger, to say, you know what, maybe they've had a really bad day. Maybe they're sitting on some anxiety, some bad news, something going on. And maybe I can be gracious, and maybe I can be the bigger person and cut them a break. So when you're having a difficult conversation, it's really important to know you. When I need to have a difficult conversation, like I've had to fire people. Before then, I've had to give very difficult feedback, surprising feedback that somebody may not have known in a work situation. I've turned down a couple of proposals for marriage. In those situations where you're saying something really difficult, knowing yourself. And when I say knowing yourself, usually those big, big feelings when you know you have to do or say something, it's somatic. It's in your soma, it's in your skin, it's in your cells. When you're waking up in the middle of the night, or when something just keeps coming into your mind, or when you're feeling something, for me it's tingling in the back of my spine, or sometimes it's just a funny feeling in my tummy. I know that, you know what, I've got to face this. And I work with a professor in Switzerland who's American like me in Europe, who says putting the fish on the table. His name's George Kohlreiser. And he had a former life as a hostage negotiator. So it's about being able to have the most difficult conversation and to make the connection. And what I've found in difficult conversations is A fish under the table is going to smell. It's like the elephant in the room. A fish on the table, you put it on the table, you all know there's a fish. And you all know there's something that needs to be done. You need to clean the fish. And if you do it soon enough, you get to have fish dinner. If you wait too long, you've just got a mess. And so really just honoring yourself if you're the first person to smell the fish. Or if someone invites you into, I need to talk to you. Not going into fear, anger, anxiety, judgment, but just saying, okay, I respect and honor this person's need to want to share something with me. And I'm going to stay centered. And so centering, again, if I can take a minute and have you stand up, just in your place. Centering is, you just let your arms hang. You're standing 2 feet on the ground, your weight evenly distributed. As you stand up straight, those of us who've had ballet in the past, you know that there's a little string that comes straight from your crown up to the heavens. And that's just keeping your spine straight. And as you're standing in your integrity, this is who you are. You're a person who means to do well. You're a person who cares about other people. You're a person who makes the choice you need to make in the moment with honesty and compassion. And as you stand in your integrity, just thank yourself for that you show up every single day. And then think about from your shoulders and your hips, big circles going out. So we just talked about our length. Now we've got our width. So in these circles of who we are, and these circles of where we sit in the world, we're part of other people's communities. Some of us assemble communities and build them around us. And we affect so many circles every single day. And again, that width of life. And one good thing to do, just in a self-gratitude, self-compassion, Brene Brown's got a great talk on this, to write down every single person in the last year, then 2 years, then 3 years, then 10 years, you've actually helped. Little things, big things. But think about what your circle, what your presence in that circle in the world has done for other people. And then think about yourself having not a coccyx, but a tailbone, a proper tail that goes into a tail. And if you're vegetarian, you can be a brontosaurus. If you're a meat eater, you just go for Tyrannosaurus rex. These tails have muscle. And in that tail behind you, as you kind of wiggle your hips a little bit, it's your successes experience, your failures. It's everything you've learned, your ancestry. It's all the belief people have had in you. And so as you walk into a room to have a difficult conversation, to give a talk, to teach something, to share something, to show up at work, to take a minute and just do your length, your width, and your depth, and just take that 1 minute of just acknowledging your body, and then taking that deep breath, that is a mindful entrance. So thank you. You can sit down now. And again, when you're centering before you're going in, one nice way to center, if it's a one-on-one or even if it's a group, is to say, are we here? Is there a shared possible outcome that we might reach through conversation? And see if you can get that on the table. And sometimes it makes things go, just asking questions. Now, mindfulness is all over the place, and you've seen it. And it's in major corporations and institutions. So one of the things that I'd like to leave you with is this idea that, we all carry our own presence and the impact that we have on others in the world. And kind of coming clean about the fact that I really make time for myself to meditate, and I make time for myself to be in nature, and I make time for myself to be nourished by my community, and that's my norm. When I started corporate 28 years ago, that wasn't the norm. And making that choice, even back then, has given me a chance to carve my own way, to make my own choices, and to have some impact and influence. And while it was sticky and tricky in the past, now it's just what companies do. And if your company's not doing it, it probably isn't that difficult now to find the space and time to do that. And again, as well with friends, right? I find personally a phone on a table when I'm at dinner with somebody is almost like someone's put a gun there. Because just seeing it, they've done studies, activates your response and alert system, because you see their phone, you start thinking about your own phone, you start thinking about what you have to do. And just even respecting each other in a group, keeping it out of sight, makes a big difference, because life is short. And there's nothing more fulfilling, for me at least, than hanging out with people I care about. And that's what I just want to leave you with, is that there's so many little things, just one deep breath, just 1 minute, really taking advantage of the fact that you can come into your physical body, even on a busy day, even when you're rushing, but just take that minute to say, my feet are on the ground and I am in my integrity, and then everything else can flow. Thank you.